everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you for joining me. I will be your astrologer today. Back at it with another video, chatting with you guys all about this new moon in Pisces. We are going to discuss some of the aspects of the chart, looking at the lunation, what to expect, how to work with this energy, how to manifest with this energy. I am so excited. I have been looking at this moon probably for about 6 months, waiting until the beginning of March of 2022, because then I knew that's when the magic was going to start really flowing, and we're going to start actually being able to be building towards things that are actually going to be changing. So yeah, really excited to chat with you guys about this today. And if you stay tuned to the end of the video, I'm going to discuss how this is going to affect each and every one of the 12 signs. Please listen for your sun and your rising sign to get insight as to how this is going to affect you. I'll be pulling tarot cards also, and I'm excited because I have a brand new deck. I have not even opened it yet. This is not a sponsorship. It's just I'm a fan of unboxing videos, whether it's tarot or cosmetics. It's my guilty pleasure. So I've been looking at this box, or this deck for a little while. It's the Lucid Dreams Beginner's Deck. I just thought the artwork was beautiful, so I haven't even opened it yet. Brand new moon, brand new deck. So we'll be pulling some tarot cards to see what comes up for all of the signs. As always, you know, if you guys follow my astrology, you know this is not just really like an astrological lecture, but it's also, I teach a lot. There's going to be a lot that you can learn through your natal chart by looking at your natal chart. So I've gotten in the habit of telling people when I put these videos out, I'll give you guys a second, pull up your chart. We're going to be looking specifically at Pisces. So wherever Pisces lands in your horoscope, if you don't know, don't worry, you can get on astro.com for free. You can create a profile, put in your time, date, and birth of location of birth. It has to be exact so that way you can see what your ascendant and all your planetary placements are. If you don't know how to do that, consider booking a reading with an astrologer. That's what we're here for. Check out my links below. You can see my website and also all my social media to connect better with me. And if you want to learn more about astrology, I've got a brand new newsletter list that I have created, so you can actually click that below, input your information for your email address, and you will be on the first list of people who's going to get newsletter insights revolving around when I'm launching my courses. I'm going to start teaching beginners astrology soon here in like the next month or so. And I just wanted to get an idea of how many people were interested, but also just working really hard on creating this newsletter, because I'm going to start sending out emails letting you guys know just what's going on energetically, probably plug in some of my videos, and also let you guys know any courses, lectures, or new services that I'm offering. So please do sign up for that, because it's going to be a limited number of people that I'm going to bring into my educational groups. All right, cool. So let's get into it. So the March 2nd, 2022 Pisces new moon coming in hot at 9:35 a.m. Pacific time. So that's going to be 12:34 p.m. 12:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, check your time zone. I know we've got people all over. I'm here in Vegas, but we've got people all over the world. It's been really interesting to see just where people are kind of funneling in from. We've seen a lot of traction in the channel recently, just I think from putting out more content, but also you guys liking and commenting things really helps me get that stuff out there. So when we look at a new moon, we get this opportunity every month for like a clean slate, a fresh start, right? And it's pretty safe to say, as I told you guys, you know, at the end of 2021, listen, January, February, we're going to feel like we're kind of going through the mud. Not that we're stuck, it's just things are slow. We had lots of retrogrades. We're still now getting out of the retrograde shadow here at the end of February, beginning of March, and all planets are direct. So the energy is so good for really committing to new things right now. Okay, new moons in general are, but this new moon in particular, because we're going to see some very positive, harmonious aspects to earth signs. So yes, this is a water new moon, water lunation, but with aspects to like, you know, to Uranus and Taurus, to planets in Capricorn. There's just going to be so much darn support. It's not even funny. And what I really like about earth and water and the aspects that they make to each other is you want to think almost like clay, right? We have clay because we mix like powdered clay or whatever, you can say dirt, sand, whatever, with water, and it can actually create this really stable foundation. So when you're working with clay, sometimes you add a little bit more of the powder, sometimes you add a little bit more of the water, and you're mixing it together, and then you're able to actually create like pots and bowls and cups and mugs, which ultimately, yes, they're fired, but they're really stable, they're sturdy, right? They can hold things. So what I like about this moon is that we're going to see, with all of the planets that are in Capricorn, lots of like passion, desire, also frustration, like, and real commitment to create change. If you guys want more insight on that specifically, I just did my astro weather video a couple days ago. I talked all about really what's going on this week, particular the end of February, going into the beginning of March, and how all of the sextiles happening between Capricorn and Pisces and Taurus are creating this momentum, this buildup of energies that's going to materialize as real physical change in the spring of 2022. So please check that video out. It's going to explain it a little bit more. Somebody commented on one of my videos if I could kind of wrap on the Mars-Venus conjunction. I will talk about that because, well, it's been happening now for a couple weeks, really since right before Valentine's Day. But it's going to carry that energy out for a little bit longer. We'll see Mars and Venus, move through Capricorn. It's going to go to the later degrees of Capricorn during this lunation. Then it's going to ingress and move into Aquarius, reactivating that 0-degree Aquarius grand conjunction that we had at the end of 2020. So changes on the way. But Pisces is a mutable water sign, and mutable meaning changeable, flexible, adaptable. And Pisces rules traditionally the 12th house, so it's where everything comes together. Being that it's a water sign, it is very emotional, it is empathic, it absorbs, but it also heals, and it can dissolve, and it can release things. Obviously, with all of the zodiac signs, we see polarity in regards to positive traits and some not so positive traits. Positive traits for Pisces are mystical, magical, and giving us the opportunity to simply dissolve and release and heal, right? Pisces energy to me feels like that feeling that you get when you get into the bathtub and you can just relax and unwind. It's like a glass of wine. It's listening to a record and getting comfortable and laying down and being on a comfy couch or finally crawling into bed after a long day. It's very Pisces energy. But the more challenging aspects of Pisces, especially with so many planets now in Pisces, can be panicking, freaking out. It can represent issues with sleeping. It can represent also anything revolving around drug abuse, feeling super separate from the collective, feeling a little bit in your head. So topics of mental health are going to be really important as a result of this new moon, and our relationships with things that can be substances that kind of affect our ability to kind of connect. So I think of like where it can be too much, right? They say the 12th house is the house of hidden enemies. That's traditional astrology. Certainly there's some instances I could see where that happens. The 12th house is like our blind spot, right? But it also can represent self-undoing and where we actually put that wall up and disconnect ourselves from other people, or not share, or feel like we need to hide away, or feel like we need to hide out, right? Because things can be so overwhelming. If you have any natal placements in Pisces, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Pisces, sun, moon, rising, perhaps even Mercury in Pisces. These energies are sometimes challenging and difficult to differentiate our feelings from the collective feelings, right? So if you're an empath, if that's something that you're kind of born with, you naturally know that you just pick up on and you absorb other people's energy more than usual. With Jupiter and Neptune and the sun all being in this sign, there are going to be lots of interferences from collective energies. And as these emotions rise and fall, revolving around what's going on in the world, we can absorb that, right? We can pick that up. That's why when I decided to do this video, I was like, I can't really get into the technicalness of it as much, because Pisces is a feeling, right? It's our intuition, it's a dream, it's a knowing. So we're really going to have to be aware of our emotions and our feelings more than usual. I would say the effects of this new moon will be very prominent for the next 6 months before we have a full moon that will be later, kind of the end of summer going into the fall. That's really going to be showing us that we have to put more focus and emphasis on wrapping things up, closing things out, finding solutions, letting things go, better supporting our mental, emotional, spiritual kind of lives and health, right? So watch out for both sides of this Piscean energy, because I have some concerns with Jupiter and Neptune being in close proximity with the sun and the moon, and that will materialize as us not being able to differentiate and kind of losing our equilibrium or dissolving boundaries between us and other people. Now, Pisces is also really well known for like peace, right? Finding peace, being able to bring peace. And whether that's peace of mind, global peace, being able to finally wave the white flag and go, okay, you know, we're good here, let's make amends. So I'm very excited to see that manifest, although I don't know if that's really going to be something that's going to start coming until later in the year. Neptune does rule viruses. It does deal with illnesses, strange illnesses, and things that are obviously, you know, we can't see them, right? Neptune is about what's invisible. So I'm wondering what's going to manifest as a result of this, and we'll talk about that. I also just feel like the energies are going to be very confusing. That's how I've been feeling. It's very confusing, and it can be very cloudy, and there can be not a lot of clarity. You know, because Pisces and Neptune deals a lot with like rest and sleep, some of us may feel like after what's been several years of just a lot of bombardment of different energies and different stressors, we're tired, right? We're tired. And we need more rest and relaxation. But also it can be that we are just psychically sucking stuff up and kind of losing our awareness of our spiritual boundaries, right? So like, it sounds silly, but like this whole next month, really practice good spiritual hygiene, right? We want to be aware that, you know, at least for me, I'm trying to get into the habit of this. It's like when you leave the house, you grab your purse or your keys, or your wallet, your phone, right? Your bag, whatever, and then you leave. I'm trying to create, as a part of my routine, because I'm having some very strong Neptune, Pluto, Jupiter trines, that I need to remember before I leave the house, like I gotta check my energy. I gotta make sure I'm grounded. If I feel like I need to have a crystal on me, so be it. If I need to take the selenite and kind of, you know, wipe my aura clean, I'm doing it. If I need to be working with the essential oils to ground my energy more, I'm doing it. Really doing those salt baths, those scrub downs with salt, getting the, you know, ionic foot baths and all that stuff. Pisces rules feet. It's becoming a part of my routine because I'm getting slimed. And I know if I'm getting slimed, a lot of other people are getting slimed, and they're not aware that they're getting slimed. And when you're not aware that you're getting spiritually slimed, you can act like another person. You can absorb other people's emotions and project that. You can have all this mental, emotional confusion, not knowing where it's coming from. You can find yourself crying in a bathtub, drinking a bottle of wine. I mean, these are very Piscean things. So I'm hoping that people are going to be prepared for this, and they realize that when these energies start to build, especially the further that we get into March, they're going to be prepared and they're going to know how to handle it so we're not spiraling out, right? Because we're going to have a lot of energy in Pisces for a while. It's not just going to be March. We're also going to have this happen down the road, and that's going to be happening a couple of weeks' time. You know, we're going to see Mercury's going to move into Pisces. That's going to be closer to mid-March. And then we're going to see Venus and Mars move into Pisces, and that's going to be in mid-April. So we're not going to be out of these conjunctions with Jupiter and Neptune really until the better part of the end of May. And if you guys saw my other video, you saw that I was talking very explicitly about that flow chart of why we really need to get to May, and what we need to do between now and then in order to be able to create new structures in our lives, build new stability, security, and enjoy it, right? Have more love in our life. But what's so amazing about Pisces is that it reminds us that you can just let go, right? Let go and let God let go. It's like, let it dissolve. It's like, this is such wonderful energy to be practicing for the immediate next 2 to 4 weeks, going, yeah, I just gotta let that go. You know, it's just too heavy. You know, it's not really working. It's creating so much stress or tension. I just have to let it go, or I need time away. I think if there was any silver lining to the pandemic, it has been that it has in many ways helped many people learn that it wasn't until that we were alone and really were able to reflect on our lives and we were disconnected from society or disconnected from our job, friends, family, whatever, to really become more aware of our shit and the things that we need to work through. And the awareness that being alone doesn't have to be a theme that's like abandonment or seclusion or isolation. Being alone can be something that's really positive, and it can give us an opportunity to reflect. Neptune energy is the same as meditation and making that conscious choice to take, 15 minutes or an hour a day, depending on how often you guys are doing it, to go and say, I'm going to go and sit by myself. I'm going to reflect. I'm going to see what comes through. I'm going to find my peace, right? Peace. This is a big theme that we're going to talk about over the next month is peace. What is peace? Not just globally, but finding peace within our lives, peace within ourselves, and giving ourselves the opportunity to look at things a little bit differently and go, why have I been letting this go on for so long? And wouldn't it just be so nice if I can just decide to release it and let it go and heal it, and that's okay. This is where all of the support actually from the planets in Capricorn are really benefiting us and really showing us that if you really want to get to where you want to go, there are some things that you really just don't want to continue to just hold on to for the sake of false security any longer. The relationship that you're in so you're not alone, the job that you're going to every day that you hate just so you can pay the bills, the living situation that you've been in because you're afraid to make change. There is an insane amount of positive energy coming from the aspects of Jupiter and Neptune that are saying, listen, if you can believe that you deserve better, that you can do better, that you can find better, if you believe that you can change the story, the narrative, right, then it can be. But you have to believe it literally before you see it. I'm going to keep saying that. You have to believe it before you see it. Jupiter is also a planet that deals with wisdom. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot, that, these conjunctions that we're getting ready to see between Jupiter and Neptune, we have not seen for about 180 years, okay? Both of these in the signs of Pisces, the sign of Pisces is going to be about a renewal of faith and spiritual beliefs, right? Globally, because Pisces is going to be global. Jupiter is going to hit the masses. The moon is also the masses when we're looking at a new moon. So it's going to give us the opportunity to restore faith, but it's also going to be that wisdom that we get from listening to, those who have been experienced, those who maybe have had experiences where they had to go and be alone and in any capacity, or incarcerated, or had to work through a life, potentially threatening disease and we're in a hospital. Or we think of, nuns, preachers, pastors, saints and sages, all these people that have had to go and be on their own and do that very kind of hangman, hermit-esque energy and reflect and turn inward only to receive that wisdom and then bring it back to us, okay? So there's something super magical about this moon that makes me feel like it may actually allow people to have really vivid dreams, downloads, intuitive kind of feelings. It's a great time to break out anything relating to tarot, divination, astrology, pendulums, crystal balls, water scrying, any of these things, potions, right? It's very magical. Pisces is very magical, but with the conjunction to Jupiter, I think it's going to give everybody an opportunity to be seeking out teachers. If you are a seeker, if you're waking up, go looking for that information. You may find it, right? If you are stressed out and not knowing how to handle a situation, but you're having a series of very vivid, intense dreams, go and decode them. Go and look into, dream symbolism. This moon will be the most beneficial. Really, it's beneficial for all signs. It really is. You can't go wrong with Jupiter. Jupiter is the most beneficial, abundant planet there is. Now, does Jupiter magnify things? And when things are difficult, it can become more difficult? For sure. For sure that happens. But for the most part, this is a very beneficial moon. It's going to, I think, affect the mutable signs the most. So if you are a mutable sun, moon, or rising, or if you've got a lot of mutable in your chart, so that would be, Gemini, Virgo, and Sag and Pisces. It's going to affect specifically 10 to 14 degrees of the mutable signs the most. So if you are one of these ascendant, sun, moon, or rising, what's going to happen is you're going to experience a square, okay? And so mutable squares, of all of the squares, I think are the easiest. I saw a thing that was on Facebook the other day, and somebody posted being like, oh, if you have a lot of mutable in your chart, watch out. The end of 2022 is going to be really hard for you. And of course, I had to go and be like a keyboard warrior. And I was like, this bad Twitter astrology needs to fucking stop. Yes, we're going to see that at the end of 2022, we're going to have Mars retrograde in Gemini. So if you have a lot of mutable, you'll experience that. It's going to square Neptune. But mutable squares in general are easiest of all of the squares, in my opinion, because they're already changeable and flexible in nature. It's if it's affecting your chart, it's going to be this realization during the new moon that's like, actually, I think I need to do something different. I can make a change because it's conjunct Jupiter. These are positive changes, okay? So that's for 10 to 14 degrees of the mutable signs. I believe this will be the most positive for the water family. So that'll be Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. If you have any placements between 10 and 14 degrees of the water signs, you will be experiencing trines. These are harmonious, free-flowing energy, okay? Trines can make things very big very quickly. Like I said, I'm experiencing transit Jupiter. It's in a trine right now to my Mars and my Pluto and my Sun, and it's making me very sleepy. And it's making me very aware that I need to be more emotionally connected and like aware that I'm emotionally getting overwhelmed and that I'm absorbing things. Water is kind of tricky, guys, with water trines, because it reminds you that you got to put the heart in it. And if the heart's missing, you're going to really feel it emotionally. On the flip side, if your heart is really full and you're feeling a lot of love and a lot of good things, you can also have like lots of happy tears. So watch out for that with the water signs. Everybody is just going to feel more emotion than usual, but the water signs particularly. And then also earth signs, you'll be experiencing sextiles, especially, Taurus and Capricorn. For Virgo, obviously it will be in opposition. And that's not necessarily bad either. Sun, Jupiter pose, any of your Virgo placements can make you more optimistic, or it can actually materialize as really prominent people coming into your life right now, Virgos. But for Taurus and Capricorn, these will be sextiles. So this will really be affecting anybody who's like a Taurus or Capricorn with placements between 10 and 14 degrees of the earth sign, especially Taurus. Taurus, pay attention, because you're going to have a sextile from this moon and you've got Uranus involved too. So dreams and goals for Taurus can definitely manifest very quickly, okay? That's the other thing about this is manifestation. New moons, we manifest. We focus on what we want to create. Now, like I said, have waited quite some time for this new moon. Now, yes, obviously new moons are new intentions, but they're also very quiet and they're very still. And one thing I would recommend is any clearing or cleansing work you want to do, probably doing that right around March 1st when, or you can do it, on the 28th of February also. But when the moon's in its dark phase, when it's in Aquarius, and it comes into conjunction with Mercury and Saturn, it'll be a lot of meditating on, your thoughts and seriousness and what you're committed to, but also what you want to clear out. If this were me, I would encourage you guys probably closer to either the 6th or the 7th, just after the new moon, to start something new. We want to wait till the moon actually probably gets into Taurus. It'll be a little bit easier. The moon's exalted in Taurus and it's going to be more stable. That's just food for thought. That's what I'm opting to do. But manifestation's a big thing. And whether that's just focusing on creating a vision board, coming up with a plan, focusing on mantras, prayer, that can be a big theme right now because of Jupiter. But Neptune's in the mix too. So it's new spiritual beliefs. It can be about new travels, new explorations, new courses, new things we're learning. But I think it's also going to have us really focusing on manifestation because it's in an exact, almost an exact sextile to Uranus and Taurus. Okay. That's basically saying, hey, where do you want to be in May? What do you want to be creating? What do you want to have? Taurus is what we eat, what we wear, what smells good, what feels good. It's money, it's food. Wonderful time during this new moon to start planting seeds, literally or figuratively, that will start kind of growing in April or May. So I don't know anything really about gardening, but I know that anything that's going to be planted revolving around this time, especially if you're looking to do community gardens or maybe I would say being all this energy is in Pisces, it might be like hydroponics or growing with water or new filtration systems. That can be something that's also very wonderful. So let's go ahead and get into the aspects, although I don't want to be too astrologically heavy because I want to talk about more how this is going to feel. But when we look at a new moon, we focus more on the ruling planet. Now, if you're a traditional astrologer, Hellenistic astrology would remind you that you want to look at Jupiter. If you are a modern astrologer, we look at Neptune. I look at both. And if you look at this, both are in the mix. Obviously, Jupiter is much closer to the sun and moon than Neptune, but they're all still within a 10-degree orb. So that's a pretty damn magical moon. So when the new moon happens, depending on where you are on the 2nd of March, this may manifest as a dream, an epiphany, a vision, something that you are believing in, something you're praying for, something that you are hoping is going to come in divinely and assist you. It's at a 12. So we'll read the Sabian symbol for this in just a second because I haven't looked at it yet. Being that Jupiter is very close to the sun, it's just right on the heels of the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. So it makes me feel as if actually a lot of what you're manifesting is still, like I said, going to be kind of happening between the 2nd and the 6th. Look for that conjunction happening on the 4th. That may be when you start physically making the changes, because to go from a 12 of like the meditation, the reflection, the dream, what your tarot cards say, whatever, it's very Piscean. 12 relates to Pisces. It won't manifest, or you won't start kind of putting those pieces together for about 2 days. Wonderful time period to just pay attention to the subtle things that kind of come up for you spiritually. I have found that with the Neptune aspects, it's been very strong with dreams, but it's also been very strong with just intuitive feelings and just feelings that's like, I don't know about this. This doesn't really feel right, or maybe that kind of feels right. And take your time because, like I said, it has to be something that has to be very emotionally kind of felt in the body. This can be a good moon that can kind of indicate that people are really seeking support, assistance, you know, Pisces or Neptune rules, people who are lost or people who may be either homeless or cast aside or stuck somewhere. It can also represent people who are looking to find places to live specifically. So I'm imagining that because of this new moon, it's going to materialize as a lot of people who are looking to relocate, and whether that's like locally or internationally. I think it's going to have people wander, and not all people who wander are lost. So that's something else that I have been thinking about a lot, not just in a sense of like traveling and kind of being like, hey, I want to be more free and I want to be more detached. I've seen a lot of that in clients, people who are opting to trade their big mortgages and their full-time job for more simple living, and focusing on being able to have less so they have more spiritual fulfillment and they can have the ability to travel and either live in a van or be moving from city to city every couple of months and just living lighter. I think a lot of people are going to be wandering in general, in the astral, but also quite likely in life, and exploring more about what their purpose is and why they're here, right? And where they're going, not just literally, but in terms of their life and their beliefs. Now, during the time of the new moon, aside from Jupiter and Neptune being conjunct, I think the other important factor is going to be the sextiles that we're seeing to Uranus and Taurus. So this is very strong. I remember talking to you guys in a previous video about Jupiter sextile Uranus, and that it was going to represent sudden turns of fate, chance opportunities, a very small window. This is the window that I was talking about, and it's going to be things that are put in motion literally probably from the second until Jupiter is coming out of the sextile with Uranus. I would say you probably have this until about the third week of March. At that point in time, we're going to start to lose it. Does that mean, I mean, I work with about a 5-7 degree orb. I would rather it be closer, but obviously, you know, once we start getting outside of that orb, you're not really going to see that sextile between Jupiter and Uranus again. Something else I want to mention is down the road, and this is going to be like from closer to the end of March, really into mid-April, we're going to see Mars and Venus and Mercury all come into Pisces. So I'm especially curious what happens way down the road when Mars and Venus are following through these degrees. So Mercury will cross it on the 17th. There might be some sense of you following up on what you said you were going to do then. Ironically, that's kind of coming into the full moon that will be in Virgo, and Mercury is in the same degree as it was during the new moon. So now we've sorted and sifted through things, and maybe things can become more real. But when Mars and Venus cross these degrees, looks like it's going to be in April. So Venus is going to cross 12 degrees of Pisces on the 16th. Mars is going to cross those degrees on May 1st. Once again, see the pattern? Things aren't really showing up until, you know, the better part of May. So patience is the one thing that I would remind you guys, you know, everything in due time. There is a sense of needing to really focus on the dreams and the guidance and the things like that before we can really start creating this change. Now, if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling lost, wonderful 2-week period to 4-week period to get a reading. And whether that's tarot cards or a psychic reading or a clairvoyant reading or a mediumship reading, whatever, the veil is going to be exceptionally thin right now. And we're going to have this really through April, but this can be a time that's wonderful to check in with a healer, check in with a spiritualist, check in with a therapist, you know, whoever, a hypnotist, whatever, to start going deeper into the spiritual realms and also the subconscious realms of how we truly feel. And I want you guys to just remember where intention goes, like energy flows. Like this is a big thing right now. Because this moon can have us, if we're stuck in the patterns of fear and the old storyline, we want to watch to be careful not to manifest that, you know? Like that can definitely be a thing. Now, Neptune is also now in a sextile to the North Node in Taurus. And this is really prominent, and we're going to see this really for like the next couple of weeks. Dissolving what used to be in order to go further into the future, tapping more into the spiritual and the otherworldly to be able to physically change and affect the physical. And it's a really great kind of dreamy, magical, creative energy as well. Neptune can be about ripple effects. So through some of these more selfless acts, right, that we're participating in, or through what we're willing to release and dissolve, we can actually see physical change, especially within the body. So working with water, taking baths, soaks, scrubs, things like that, detoxes, really making sure we're staying hydrated is important. But also this can be the auric field. It can be the emotional body and what affects the emotional body. And I would encourage you guys to look into things that involve vibration. So I would say like binaural beats. If you're in a city that has a harmonic egg, that's definitely something that I'm going to be doing in this next month. I think of like day spas where you can go and soak and you can get massages and you can kind of just detox and get everything out of your system. Wet saunas, anything like that. Foot massages, ionic foot baths, all of that. Like anything that's going to have water or vibration. Sound baths, right? Music, anything that's going to actually shake everything off. Because you go to a sound bath, I don't know if you guys have been to one, but I started going to them back in like 2009. And I remember the first time I went and I was like, this has got to be bullshit. Going, you know, they do all of the meditation and all of that stuff. It was a Kundalini class. And then they do the sound bath at the end. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the amount of gunk that actually really comes off of you from all of the bowls and the gongs, it's amazing. Like you actually feel very different. That's what I want you guys to think about. And it doesn't mean that you have to go and be in a yoga class and be in a sound bath to make it happen. Like if you want to get down and you want to listen to some like dirty rap and clean the house, so be it, whatever. It's the same thing, it's vibration. But I want you guys to realize that vibrationally, you're going to be very sensitive this month. So what you're around, what you're drinking, what you're absorbing, what you're watching, it's all going to have a really, really, really big impact on your auric body. And your auric body expands anywhere from like 9 to 15 feet at any given time. Very rarely, unless we're alone, are we not being interfered with other people's gunk in our auric field, right? So try to be mindful when you go out. Try to take that time to rest. Try to take that time to meditate where you know that you're in a room, that you have your own space, that you can connect. Try to keep your channels clear. Because if you're drinking and partying and Pisceing out like a rock star, like some people might during these transits, you're going to lose the opportunity to have that direct connection to source. And also, in turn, be able to collectively focus on not where we've been, not what's gone wrong, not what the story has always been, not what we're afraid of, but where we're going, and focusing more on manifesting and envisioning what life could be, but more so what life is about to be and how sweet it could be, right? Because Jupiter's in the mix. We've got Mars, Venus, and Pluto that are making some very strong aspects. Mentioning this because there was somebody in my comments who was like, what about the Mars-Venus conjunction? I talked about it a little bit in my Vesta video. Mars obviously is the god of war. It's about courage. It's about passion. It's about cutting. It's about moving through things. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So Mars has been taking orders from Venus for a little while here. Okay, Venus was retrograde in these degrees. Mercury was retrograde in these degrees. It's almost like Mercury was saying to Venus the last couple of months, what don't you like? What doesn't feel good? How are you not enjoying yourself? Do you like what you're wearing? Do you like your relationships? Do you have enough food? Do you like what you're eating? Do you want to change your hair? Why are you not happy? And, you know, Capricorn's very conservative, and it's also very goal-driven, and it's also about the future. So I think it's had a lot of us reflecting on our relationships. Is it going to stand the test of time? Our careers? Are we really passionate about it anymore? And where are we feeling all the heaviness and the restriction revolving around whether or not we feel abundant, healthy, happy, right? So not that there's anything wrong having Venus in Capricorn. I really want to reiterate that because all the Venus and Capricorns are going to come from me. I have Venus in Capricorn, but I know that Venus in Capricorn does not really truly fall in love easily, and it does not commit to anything unless it sees long-term potential. So being that Mars and Venus have been conjunct, does that create passion? Sure, absolutely, especially if you have a lot of Earth placements or any natal planets in Capricorn. Sure, you can experience that. But I think the story of Venus and Mars moving together, it really ties back actually to the Mercury retrograde and the Venus retrograde. Venus sorting and sifting through things and kind of asking herself, what does she want to keep and what does she want to let go of, and where are things too strong and where are we holding on to things too much? It's been in conjunction to Pluto. See, what we're learning is that love is not possession. That's the bottom line. You can have all the money in the world, but you can still be piss poor morally and be in a miserable relationship and hate your life. You can have an awesome salary, but having, I think, a life where you're making a good living, it doesn't necessarily equate to having a good life. And I think that's what a lot of people are realizing, that we've bought into this idea of capitalism. We've bought into this idea that we have to have big houses and fancy cars and all of this shit, but we're drowning in debt and we're spiritually not evolving. So it's helping us kind of simplify, and it's helping us unite. And when Venus and Mars come together, at least in traditional astrology, it was always omens of ceases of war, and people focusing more on having sex and being in love and all of that stuff rather than there being war. Unfortunately, during the time of this moon, we do see that Mars and Venus are approaching and coming into conjunction with Pluto, which is fear. It is destructive. It is dangerous. It is something that is not safe. It's something that's also about power. So I've spoken about this in previous videos, especially in my Pluto return 1 and 2 video. I said, watch what starts happening with the police force, that we're going to start seeing a lot more police brutality. Look at what's going on in Canada. Don't get distracted with this bullshit that's going on in the Ukraine, because a lot of the games that's going on with Ukraine is fucking bullshit right now. I'm not saying it's not serious. I'm just telling you that in a way, when I look at the sextiles from Capricorn to Neptune, and Jupiter, I think it's a distraction. I think we're being distracted from not seeing what's actually going on in other parts of the world, right? What's actually being hidden or covered up, what they don't want you to see on screens, what's not being shown. And I'm not saying that they will or they won't invade. Personally, having looked at the charts, I think it's going to reach like a boiling point in the next month. But I would be surprised if an invasion happens. I don't think that's going to happen until later in the summer. That's what I've seen in the charts. I think something else is going to happen in the summer. I'm more concerned about the stuff going on with Canada, and the fact that Canada is now mirroring some of the stuff that we saw going on this last year in Australia, where there's police brutality, people are losing their freedom, they're having resources shut off, they're not being able to kind of exercise their God-given rights and freedom. And it's a really scary thing as we start to see this happen around the world. And it makes me start to wonder, is America next, right? But with Mars and Venus in conjunction, we're passionate about what? About getting the job done. So we can actually see that there can be too much passion. There can be too much jealousy, possessiveness, wanting to control, right? What we're finding is that certain world powers right now are doing everything they can to maintain control, right? That's what they're trying to do, especially with the trine to the North Node. What are they trying to control? The world's resources, our food, our bodies, right? This is the astrology. This is not my political perspective. This is point blank really what's happening. There is a power grab going on right now to try to scare people into submission, and they're going to use any material thing possible to do that. Think about that. Now, all of these planets, Mars, Venus, and Pluto, are finally going to come together at 27 degrees. So it is kind of happening, actually. Yeah, it's going to happen later in the day on the 2nd. So the March 2nd through the 6th is a really interesting time to watch. The United States right now are getting ready to start their Pluto return. And I think that's going to factor into this as well. And the aspects that it's making to Pisces makes me wonder, are they actually going to do something? Are we actually going to see political leaders move in the direction of not opting for funding war and funding conflict and making money off of conflict or off of war? Are they going to actually start doing something about the health and the wellness of people who've been sitting in their house for 2 years, that are not just dying because of a pandemic, they're dying because of depression, they're dying because they are at a loss, they feel like they don't have what they need in order to survive, and they're starting to lose the faith, right? That's really what's going on. My ear's ringing as I'm saying this, sorry. I'm like a dog with a dog whistle. So hopefully that explains a little bit of the Venus and Mars conjunction. It's about passion, but where passion could be too much, where we're strong-arming things. Mars and Venus will move into Aquarius soon, and they're actually going to show us that we have to focus on unity, and we have to be rebels for peace. That's the bottom line, you know, rebels for peace, rebels for change. Peaceful protest is really the only way to go. A lot of the things that are going to be taking place in the months and the weeks ahead are going to be people organizing and wanting to protest and coming together and not wanting to be silenced. And unfortunately, if we're not doing that in a way that's peaceful, we're going to find that it's actually going to not work in our favor, and it's going to make it much more challenging to be able to exercise our rights. Speaking of that, we have Saturn in Aquarius conjunct Mercury, and Aquarius is 12 signs to Pisces. So that tells me that we may feel like it's hard to find the words, or that we're thinking very seriously about something, or we're committing very seriously to something. It is still in friction to Uranus, and it's in friction to the nodes. It's creating a square. It's going to be this moment where people are going to be like, do I say something? Do I not say something? Do I post that? Do I not post that? Did that social media account get shut down? Is this getting limited? Is this being censored? You guys might think I'm crazy, but you're going to see more of this stuff start happening. And I would say with the Mercury-Saturn conjunction, it is positive in a sense of reflecting and being more somber and more serious, because it does represent a very Pisces energy, being 12 houses from Pisces. But I think on the flip side, it materializes as silencing, censorship, shutting things down, not allowing people to communicate, forcing people to possibly go into, not lockdown, but martial law in some places, and not being able to communicate and share with other people, which in turn I think is going to put a lot of people in a position of being afraid to speak out or communicating, posting their views, and things of that nature. So this is going to be 6 months of this energy, guys. This tells me that we're not out of the woods yet. That you'll see this play out in the immediate next 2 to 4 weeks, but really over the next 6 months, there is going to be more likelihood of being able to connect on psychic intellectual levels, like connecting with people intuitively, group meditations, private instructions, private astrology groups, private lectures, right? Things that are going on privately, organizing in private, not putting the word out. Like, I think we're going to see a total shift, especially with some of the stuff that's going on around the world, where protesters and organizers are going to realize they can't be posting flyers. They can't. They can't be putting that stuff out there. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm saying they're going to realize they can't, because it's going to get shut down. So I'm interested to see what happens with this whole convoy that's supposed to be going, to the East Coast or DC in the United States. Now that they know what's coming, what's going to make you guys think they're not going to try to shut roads down, or they're not going to try to stop certain routes or things like that? Unfortunately, information and freedom of speech and the internet has actually become a real problem, because now it's being heavily monitored. And now we're really going to see just the effects of how much monitoring is not only been done, but is about to start increasing, which is actually going to give us some pretty intense, especially in the next 2 months, new limitations in the world. It really is terrifying to hear that there's the potential for people around the world, because they're posting in support of certain movements, that they're being cut off from banking and resources, and that they're also having people showing up at their house because of what they're saying on social media. Okay, that's terrifying, quite frankly. And if this is the direction where things are going in, and if you happen to live in a country or a place where that's not happening yet, consider yourself lucky. But if you think that by saying nothing, you're going to be fine and just not getting involved, eventually this is going to affect everyone. And everybody's about to realize this in a couple weeks' time. And so I'm hoping that people shift gears and start realizing that the North Node in Taurus is not just about money. It's about meeting in person. It's about bodies coming together, right? In the end, it's also about love. It's about peace. It's about harmony. It's about simplifying things, making things easier. But it's going to be about physical connection and how we're connecting to people, and why that is so important. Because when people connect, the energy rises. When people are positively connecting to create change, and they're protesting peacefully, we're actually going to see that the vibration is going to start to raise. Why do you think that there are certain energies that are trying to keep everybody separate? Because there is a mass soul evolution happening. And the more that people come together, the faster the vibration raises. And they know that. They are aware of this, because human bodies don't just produce energy, they produce a vibration. Because the whole reason why we have reincarnated, we're here on Earth, is to learn how to come together, to be united, to realize that we all affect each other. We're all connected. Karmically, we keep coming back here. We keep coming back here with certain soul family and certain groups, because we're here to move past this feeling of separateness, to realize that in the end, when we do reincarnate, or wherever it is that we go when the soul ascends, we all go back to source, right? So Pisces teaches us as well. But Mercury is building into a square with the nodes. So be mindful that it's going to be more complicated to speak freely as a result of this. We're going to see that the square to the nodes are actually going to take place closer to around March 6th. And it's going to push people to have the conversation, to come out, to say it, the this, the that, you know? And I think that's great, although it's going to be challenging because it isn't a fixed sign and it's trying to get us to change our mind, right? I'm finding this happening for me right now. You know, Saturn squaring my Mercury, it's squaring my Sun. And I kept thinking to myself, what do I have to give up? What do I have to share? You know, what do I have to do? Obviously, if it's in my second house, I'm holding on to something that I don't want to let go of. And it's materialized as me realizing it's information. It's not physical things. It's information. So it's going to be me sharing some of my insight with you guys. It's going to be me sharing some of my books. It's going to be me sharing courses. It's not things. It's not things. It's information. And this is so important because without some of this information, being out there on the internet, there's a lot of, you know, astrologers and readers and people doing this. Without us doing this, it's going to be much more difficult for people to be able to ascend and be able to move past some of the third dimensional fears that are happening right now. You guys want to be aware of fear, but you don't want to let it, you know, run things. It can sit in the passenger seat, but not in the driver's seat. You have to be the one who's in control. So if you find yourself falling into patterns of spiraling, feeling lost, not knowing what's going to happen, feeling stuck, bring yourself back to meditation, bring yourself back to mindfulness, take a bath, relax, unwind, do whatever you have to do to get grounded, but find time alone, because even if you're alone, even if you're not around a bunch of people, there is going to be mass meditations and all kinds of things that are going to start happening from this, and everybody is going to start being connected even if they're not physically together, okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Let's go ahead and get into the tarot cards for each of the 12 signs. Please listen for your rising sign for my predictions, and then listen for your sun or your moon. Oh, and the Sabian symbol real quick. I always forget that. So this is 12 degrees and 6. So we'll read 12 and 13. But we really want to focus on 13. I haven't even read it yet. I mean, I've read it, but I didn't read it prior to this. 12, Pisces. An examination of initiates. The theme is initiation. The symbol speaks to ethics in a time of spiritual evaluation or testing. The image is of an examination initiates and portrays a rite of passage that demands proof of knowledge, skills, progress after a period of rigorous training. The emphasis here is on the ability to effectively demonstrate the highest ideals and principles even in the face of criticism. It also suggests the possibility of misunderstanding or rejection by those whose values lie more in material realms. This degree can indicate a group ordeal or a personal challenge that compels an answer to the question, are you who you say you are? Positive at its highest, the symbol represents integrity, moral courage, strength of character, achievement through self-discipline. Its negative is apprehensiveness, self-protection, or fear of failure. The accent is on testing. Your greatest advantage lies in being prepared, find out what is required to achieve your objective, and sharpen your skills of knowledge. Perfect. 13 degrees of Pisces. A sword in a museum. Keyword is example. The power of precedent. The symbol speaks to the far-reaching effort of the lives and deeds of historic figures from the past. The image of the sword in a museum emphasizes courage, honor, and willpower. But the sword is also a weapon laid to rest, which such it can symbolize prior hostilities, bitterness, and conflict. At every critical turn, the events of recorded history, someone or more individuals rise to glory and shape the destiny of the race, and down throughout the years, their courage and achievements continue to influence the thinking and decisions, new leaders in similar situations. Positive, its highest, as the symbol represents a personal power, decisiveness, the ability to inspire others by living collective ideas in practical, everyday ways. The influence is from the past. You may find yourself trying to discover how immediate predicaments were successfully resolved in other situations. Look at the background history of the situation. Guard against making mountains out of molehills. Don't blow things out of proportion or exaggerate. Those both really do apply, huh? Laying your weapon down. That's going to be a big theme. Laying your weapon down. Finding peace. All right, so here's the unboxing. This is the 3rd edition, apparently. Lucid Dreams Beginner Tarot with keywords. I didn't see this till recently. And no, I'm not sponsored. I bought this. Popped up in my ads. Obviously, I was targeted. Interesting. When you open it up, it says, I trust my intuition. I feel with my heart. I know with my being. I see with my soul. I did not see that until just now. I love these little magnetic boxes. I've had a couple like this. I feel like if I were to ever do a deck, I would definitely want one of these. Very nice. Here we go. Ooh. So, brand new deck. Let me make sure that, no, it doesn't look like there's an extra card or anything. It's really nice. It's got like a gold foil that goes around the frame. And also it's got a little bit of a foil here. It's nice. It's a pretty decent stock. So let me shuffle this a couple times. Yeah, it's really nice stock. It's kind of matte though. It's not smooth like other ones. That's okay. And we're going to pick a card for each and every one of the 12 signs as to what you want to reflect on or be aware of when it comes to this new moon in Pisces. Also, those of you guys who watch all of my videos and you put the timestamps, you guys are the real MVPs. I really appreciate it. It's really helpful for people who don't want to listen to me talk for an hour before pulling cards. So thank you. So let's start with Aries and Aries rising. This is going to be a new moon happening in your 12th house. So a lot of what I said very much applies to you. A new moon in your 12th house is about spiritual healing. It can be about you feeling like you need time to kind of rest, recuperate, you know, get back to higher energy levels. It's right before your birthday. So it's going to be your birthday soon, Aries. And this is your natural kind of cosmic clearing that happens every year before your birthday. So a new moon can be an opportunity for you to set intentions about just more rest, healing, going deeper into your belief systems, learning more about your intuition and the spiritual world. It is coupled with both Jupiter and Neptune. Now, both of these planets traditionally rule Pisces, but Jupiter is also the ruler of your 9th house, which is about Sagittarius. So some Aries might be finding that they're planning trips to foreign places. Maybe you are learning more about a spiritual practice. It can be a time where you're like, I want to learn how to read tarot or astrology. It can be a time where you're finding yourself seeking more, maybe planning on going on a retreat of sorts. That can be something that can happen. Definitely a renewal of your faith. And I would say watch, because a guru can show up for you. And it can definitely be about just a change in your belief system and going into like a new belief system in general. The card that I got for you is the Wheel of Fortune. Amazing. I'm going to read you guys. I mean, obviously I know what the cards are. Wheel of Fortune is going to be positive shifts and changes and just things kind of coming to light for you. But good luck, fate, life cycles, destiny, a turning point. The universe is in control. Changes, cycle, karma, unexpected events. What I love is that this card is ruled by Jupiter. That's what it's ruled by, because it's got a really strong kind of connection to Sagittarius. So this is an indication, especially because it came up upright, that patterns and cycles are changing. Maybe you're working through old karmic cycles and old karmic patterns, okay? Travel can be really great, travel or education. So now we've got Taurus and Taurus rising. This is a new moon in your 11th house, which is about friends, networks, your goals, your associations, kind of partying, connecting with people. Taurus, this is a time where I really want you to focus on your goals, and I really want you to think long and hard about who you keep company with. What kind of friends and people do you have around you? Do you need to join a new group or an association to better expand what you're working on? Is it important for you to be spending time with a variation of different people? You're going to start seeing all kinds of new people coming into your life, and they may be more magical, spiritual, mystical. They may be people who are interested in the same topics as you. They can also be creatives, poets, artists, people who are involved in film or media. So that's something else that might start popping up for you. Now, Jupiter in your chart rules both your natal 8th house, okay, and also your 11th house, obviously. But being that it's a combination of your 8th and your 11th house, I feel like money can be made by collaborating with a partner. The 8th house is partners, resources, or joint resources. Or possibly doing some kind of work with a friend. So there may be an opportunity for you to like work on something with a friend. A friend may call you up and say, hey, I have this once in a lifetime opportunity for you. Do you want to work with this person? It's going to pay very well. You'd have to partner with them, stuff like that. But the 8th house is also your partner's resources and your partner's money. So there can be things where you start talking to your partner more about money and resources and what your financial goals are when it comes to getting out of debt, paying things off, things like that. And chance opportunities can happen for all of the signs. I think I said that, but really hear me on this because it's merging the 2 houses that it rules. So the 8th house can also be that your partner has a sudden influx and, more resources are coming in. Then in turn, it positively affects you. Maybe they have a chance encounter or they have the right person for you to meet that might be a turning point when it comes to your career goals or just your financial goals in general. The card that I got for you, Taurus, is the King of Cups. These are beautiful cards. Beautiful. So pretty. Devoted, emotionally mature, balanced, intuitive, compassionate, supportive, and empathic. How amazing is that? Taurus, it can be about you meeting a water sign. It can be about a Pisces or a Scorpio or a Cancer kind of coming in. It can also just be you feeling really emotionally fulfilled, feeling rich emotionally, feeling very connected. Something else that can come up because the 8th house does deal with like sex and energy and intimacy and tantra. It is possible that you're like wanting to merge with another partner and maybe get closer emotionally. And so there in turn, you're feeling more secure, right? So it can be group stuff revolving around that or group healing involving that stuff. But for this to be coming up for you is just saying that it's not so much about dollar signs, it's more about emotions, which makes sense. You especially, because you're seeing that this Jupiter-Neptune energy, it's making sextiles to the North Node and to your sun. So if you're a Taurus rising, it's going to be going from your 11th house to your ascendant. So you're feeling more authentic, more emotionally open, more vulnerable maybe than usual. Look at where Taurus and Pisces are in your chart because they're supporting one another. And you just might feel more in your feelings than usual, but you feel good about it and you're mastering them. For Gemini and Gemini rising, this is going to be a new moon in your 10th house. So it's time to really focus on what is your dream job? What is the dream situation when it comes to your career? Do you want to be a movie star? Do you want to be a rock star? Do you want to produce and find funding for your own personal film? Do you want to land a dream job? Are you waiting to hear back from a job interview? Are you wanting to launch your own business? What's going on? Because I have to tell you, Gemini rising, Geminis in general, but Gemini rising, the fact that this is happening in your 10th house, it's going to blow your mind, the things that are going to start happening in your career. You're going to literally be like, what did I do to deserve this? This is insane. I never thought that I would have this chance opportunity to happen. Because, Jupiter and Neptune can be about dreams coming true. It can be about you being seen as somebody who is now a leader or somebody who's extremely wise in your profession. You're going to be in the spotlight in some capacity. Maybe you're teaching, maybe you're traveling, maybe you're publishing, whatever you're doing, you're giving insight and you have to be so incredibly spiritually and emotionally connected to what you're doing for a living. That is the magic sauce, Gemini. Now, what's cool about this is that Jupiter traditionally rules your 7th house of partnerships and marriage. So it can be a business merger, right? It can be that, you found the perfect person to work for or work with, and it's a dream team situation. It can mean that your status in the world is changing. Maybe you go from being an employee to being your own boss. Maybe you go from being single to being engaged. Maybe your partner starts talking to you about getting married. Maybe you guys start talking about opening a business together, you in a partnership, or just that both you and your partner are just seeing lots of career success and you are each other's hype men, right? Let's see, let's take a look. The card that I got for you is the Queen of Pentacles. Beautiful cards. I love these cards so much. Queen of Pentacles can be an earth sign, but it can represent a woman who's nurturing, practical, generous, welcoming, sensible, luxurious, caring, homebody, good business sense, and a working parent. So it can mean that there is somebody who comes into your life that wants to work with you in this capacity. It can mean that you're moving more into this, that you're all about finding money, resources, stability, good business sense, but in a more feminine way. So it's more kind of like either doing it on your own and feeling very emotionally connected to that, or working with a woman who can be an earth sign who can come in and help facilitate that. Sometimes she can be more mature or older than you, and can kind of pave the way. This can also be like a mentor or possibly even a boss who's grooming you in some capacity and letting you know that you're going to be the next one and you're going to carry the torch for them. Or maybe you're just focusing more on your relationships in regards to parenting or your relationship with a parent. You can be working with a parent, taking over a parent's job position or their business, or maybe your partner is stepping in and helping you with the process of parenting, right? That can be something else that comes up as well. For Cancer and Cancer rising, this is a new moon, and that's happening in your 9th house. Now, this is a sister sign, so it is very positive energy flow for you. Can be very emotional. Your 9th house definitely revolves around long distance travel, education, your beliefs. So great for you, Cancer. You might be on the road. You might be traveling. There may be a sense of you finding your purpose, finding your sense of direction. If you have been thinking about being able to work in another place or any kind of training or anything that in regards to just perfecting and learning more about your career, right? Because Jupiter doesn't just rule your 9th house, it also rules your 6th. And 6 is about health, wellness, employees. You may be in the process right now of either trying to organize your schedule so you can have a bigger move, organize your schedule so you can have more time for travel. You can be focusing on hiring people who can come and help you, right? But I think it's travel-based because Sag is your 6th house. So it's how do I make more time to travel? Do I go away on a retreat? Do I, need to go and do some kind of training? Is there some kind of networking program? It can also be about publishing. And if you need people to help you get this stuff done, they will start showing up. Now, this card jumped out. The 6 of Swords. And the 6 of Swords is about being in limbo. It's about being in a transition. It can also represent, it literally says transitions, leaving behind, moving to calmer waters, distance, accepting lessons, on to the next step. So you may be already in the process of this. I can also see where maybe you're learning, Cancer, that you really feel like you want to be in some kind of work that's about helping people. And you're realizing that maybe you need training to better facilitate that. Maybe it can mean that you're realizing there's a connection to mind, body, spirit, that it's not just physical fitness and wellness. Sometimes it's mental, emotional, or spiritual wellness. So yoga, meditation, things like that can be very helpful for you. And what I love about this card is that it's a very Mercury-based card. It does represent Mercury and Aquarius. So having that coming up, it's interesting because Mercury's there right now. And for your chart, Mercury being in Aquarius is hanging out in your 8th house. So it's about having conversations about resources, what's shifting, what's changing, how you're spending money, maybe detoxing what you're eating. So let me know, does that apply to you? For Leo and Leo rising, this is a new moon happening in your 8th house of joint resources, sexual intimacy, handling fears, phobias. It can be a wonderful time for tackling addictions because you got Jupiter and Neptune there, okay? And in your chart, it rules your natal 5th and your 8th house. So on one hand, it's a very sexy time, and it can be about you focusing more on these spiritual energetic connections from sex. And maybe you're kind of going like, I don't want to just share my energy with just anybody. Maybe you're more focused on fertility because 5th and 8th house can deal very much with that. The 5th house is more sex. 8th house is more actually getting pregnant. Not a lot of people realize that. So there's some energy there. And I think with Jupiter and Neptune coming together, you're like, okay, I'm realizing that I want a true spiritual love. I want to merge with another person. I want to have love, or I want to have kids, or I want to be able to just bring somebody in and have security. There can be much more of a focus on sexual healing or any issues from your childhood that can come up as well. and psychological triggers relating to relationships and whether or not you feel safe or secure. Now, the 8th house is an interesting house because it's a water house. So having Jupiter and Neptune go through there, it's great for money, great for resources, great for bringing more in. So if your goal is, I want to get more bonuses, I want to see more growth in terms of my savings, I want to bring somebody in who is going to be willing to give me more money or invest in my ideas or benefit me in some capacity, this is the time that you want to set those intentions. But from the 5th to the 8th, it's, do you need to fund your own project? Do you need to fund your own business? Do you need something more? Do you want to bring in more resources? Does it make sense to take a chance and maybe put some money into it that you've been saving to see if it can actually come about, right? It's taking chances in some capacity for you. The card that I pulled was the King of Cups again. So Leo, are you going to meet like some sexy Scorpio daddy? I mean, this is the card for Scorpio. Are you going to have some guy who comes in and sweeps you off your feet and you like actually have a very, very strong connection? It's possible. You know, it makes me feel like what you're focusing on is somebody who is going to be compassionate, emotional, somebody who recognizes maybe that you're feeling a little bit empathic and you're absorbing things. It can be a conversation that you have with somebody who's like, I know exactly how you feel, and you just connect, right? But this traditionally, especially in your 8th house, somebody's going to come in or somebody's going to have some kind of emotionally healing conversation with you, or can just be offering you some kind of emotional support. But they're sexy, they're romantic. So being that it's in your 8th and your 5th house, it can be having really kind of comforting conversations so you feel more secure, you know? For Virgo and Virgo rising, this is a new moon in your 7th house. Ooh, love is on the horizon. If you have been beaten down and a victim of the Venus retrograde, Virgo, this is the time where you wipe the slate clean, you set new intentions for your relationships, and you start focusing on finding more support. If you are single, set intentions about relationships now. If you are coupled, this can be an awesome time to focus more on how you're connecting with a partner and finding spiritual renewal within a relationship. Jupiter rules your natal 4th house and your 7th. Some Virgos are going to be moving in with people and committing further. Some Virgos are going to be ending relationships and moving out. Depends on where you stand. Some Virgos are going to realize in order to kind of strengthen the relationship and the relationship bonds, they need to actually move in with somebody or move closer or talk about marriage or talk about commitment, right? Because it rules your 4th house. If you're just dating somebody, they may meet your family might meet them. And it can be a time where you're just kind of testing the waters before you talk more seriously about commitment down the road, bringing the families together, decorating a home together, planning weddings, marriages, proposals. Oh my gosh, like all kinds of really positive stuff is going to start coming for you. So those of you guys who are single, this is the time to kind of really set that heart on, you know, the partner that could come in, and you want to start visualizing and meditating. For you guys, Deepak Chopra actually did a whole playlist. It's on YouTube. That's meditations on love that I would really recommend. That can be really positive and helpful for you, helping you get out of your head and focus on what could be, not what has been, right? Some of you might meet somebody who live at a distance or they're culturally different in some capacity as well. So I would say look for that. Ooh, there were 2 cards. There's 2 cards. Okay. So what jumped out was the 8 of Swords and the Queen of Coins. So Virgos, you may be in a situation, if you're a woman, where you're like, I'm stuck. I don't know how to get out of this cycle. I don't know how to forget this person. I don't know how to move forward. It's all mental, baby. Okay. The 8 of Swords is self-imposed prison, thoughts, limiting negative self-thoughts, victim mentality, trapped, helpless, powerless, right? So it's like, this happened to me. You got to let that go. You have to let that go. If you're still focusing on the cycle of what happened and what played out and who left you and who broke your heart, you're not remaining open to what's coming. On the flip side, if you are somebody who dates women, so you can still be a woman or a man, whatever, I could see the Queen of Coins coming up as being like, there's somebody I can't let go. I can't forget about her. It really hurt me. It's been hard for me to move on. I don't know how to let that be. And it can be an earth sign that you had that experience with, or somebody who had a lot of earth placements. I feel intuitively, though, this is more about kind of being like, how can I get to this point of having been a victim and being stuck to kind of sitting on the throne as the queen does and being like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need you. I don't need a partner. I want a partner. And I don't just want any partner. I want somebody who's on my level that's going to give me everything. The commitment with the relationship, the financial success, somebody who's going to be healthy, somebody who's going to be supportive. They're going to help support my dreams. They're going to really help me come into who I'm hoping to become. So it's also about learning that you have to really focus on the Queen of Coins and like not lower your standards. We want really, really, really high standards, low expectations, Virgo, and a relationship that comes in has to be the icing on the cake, okay? For Libra rising, this is a new moon in your 6th house, which is going to deal with health, wellness, pets, healing, anything in regards to your daily routine. It can be about coworkers as well. Jupiter rules your natal 3rd house. So a couple things can happen here. One is you can get more kind of involved in your neighborhood. So it can be like you joining like a local gym, or it can possibly be about rearranging your schedule. So you're making more time for studying or kind of interacting with your local environment. You may be helping or assisting a sibling in some capacity because the 3rd house is siblings. There can be you rearranging your schedule so you have more time for teaching or for taking courses or classes. Maybe you're reading books on self-help, wellness, dietary stuff. Maybe you need to hire somebody to help work with you and collaborate with you in getting things done or administrative things. There can be stuff where you might actually find solutions to car or vehicle issues that pop up for you suddenly. If you're looking for a new doctor, a practitioner, a helpful person, a healer, a dog walker, whatever, it's positive. Now, if you're a Libra, you know that you can get out of balance very easily. That's because Pisces is about karma in all charts. So when it's in your 6th house, it's stored in your body. Maybe you're looking for more peace when it comes to being physically in your body. I've seen that a lot for Libras recently, and I think it's just about kind of realizing that there needs to be better mental, emotional, spiritual balance in your daily routines, and how you're working out or how you're eating or how your lifestyle is in general. It should be sacred. Libras, watch out, because you can have a tendency over the next couple of weeks to fall more so into patterns of overindulgence, overeating, overdrinking, oversleeping, procrastinating, being tired, not getting things done. So I would say anything that you can be reading or listening to in terms of like podcasts or audiobooks about just making the most of your time and how much time you're spending doing things, and anything in regards to like motivation and kind of really sticking to something. This is going to be really powerful if you want to make some big health changes, Libra. The card that I got for you is the 3 of Pentacles. Beautiful. 3 of Pentacles deals with like working together, like a team effort, like you need other people to help you get the job done. The card says collaboration, teamwork, skills, shared goals, working and learning, pooling energy. So maybe you've got a lot on your plate, you got a lot you need to get done, and you need help, and you need to hire people, and you need to bring people in to help you kind of complete the task, especially because your 3rd house can be a teaching or an education project. It can also be anything involving a move, or anything involving, like I said, your daily routine. If you need like website maintenance, things like that, or somebody to kind of, help comb through your emails, or you need an assistant to help you, somebody may be arriving, and don't be afraid to ask for help when it comes to taking on this task. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, this is a new moon in your 5th house, which deals with love, romance, creativity, self-employment, pregnancy, babies. So if any of these topics are things that are coming up for you right now, Scorpio and Scorpio rising, pay close attention because a seed is being planted. If you're hoping to launch your own creative business, if you're involved in film or media or art, or music, performance, anything like that, these are the seeds that are being planted right now. And it can be very positive for you because it's a sister sign. So it's either going to be making aspects to your personal planets in Scorpio or your ascendant. So for Scorpio ascendant, it is your 5th house. For Scorpio suns, you have to look at your rising sign, see how it's aspecting you, but it will positively affect your sun regardless. This can be wonderful for people who want to get back into dating and they want to focus on meeting somebody and really falling in love. I think of like Jupiter and Neptune coming into conjunction in your 5th house as like very dreamy dates, and you might feel like you're falling in love with somebody either for the first time or all over again the next couple of months. It can be really great also for just focusing on hobbies and expressing yourself and having a good time. So if you're somebody who's talented in the arts, like I said, film, photography, anything involving music, this is definitely something that you want to pay attention to and participate in and possibly launch new things just after the new moon. Jupiter in your chart, Scorpio, it rules both your natal 2nd and your 5th house. So being that it rules your 2nd house, it may also have a lot to do with your personal talents and how you're applying your personal talents, what money you're investing things in. 5th house is always speculative. It's about taking risks. So whether it's investing money in the stock market, investing money in or time into a new endeavor or a new hobby, maybe you're saying, well, do I need to buy something new in order to kind of, practice this hobby? It can also be about financial matters and focusing more on financial matters and how that manifests in your 5th house and whether or not you feel confident enough to have children. Many Scorpios are going to find that they get pregnant over the next year just with Jupiter being in your 5th house, so be aware of that. So if you're trying to get pregnant with Jupiter in the 5th, it can kind of say somewhere as a result of this new moon within 6 months' time, you can be finding that maybe you're focusing on saving more money or making more money so you can be able to feel more comfortable having a pregnancy. But it's also about pleasure and self-expression, and I think that's really important. This is like not a joke. King of Cups. King of Cups has come up for all the water signs. Am I correct? Or maybe this was Taurus. But yeah, really weird. That's really, really, really weird. The bottom card I'm going to read is the moon. So obviously, once again, King of Cups, an emotional guy, water sign. It can be talking about being devoted, emotionally mature, connected, putting your heart and soul into something, being vulnerable. So I would say for Scorpio women, this can be about connecting to a man where you're just like really feeling like emotionally you're connecting and you've met somebody who's just right on the money with vulnerability and staying open. Can be a water sign. For Scorpio men or Scorpio rising, this can also just materialize as just finding that you're being more emotional than usual and you're being more open. And that you're not as afraid to show your feelings and that you're very emotionally committed to something. So I'm just feeling more passionate or maybe even feeling like you're more open to the topic or the discussion of talking about love, union, children. I pulled the bottom of the deck because that's what I do when I have 2 cards usually, or when I have the same card. So the moon card is interesting because the moon it's a new moon. It's basically saying it's a dark period and that you're really reflecting more on everything that you haven't seen or you're not aware of yet, like subconscious desires. So if you're going back and forth kind of like, okay, I want to launch this, but I'm scared. Okay, why are you scared? Get to the bottom of that. Going back and forth with having kids. I don't want to have kids yet because I'm afraid. Okay, so go to the root cause of that. The moon talks about what's hidden and what's going on within the subconscious, the unknown, fears, trusting intuition, uncertainty, secrets, or having a complex. This can also be stuff relating to Cancer in your chart, and Cancer is your 9th house Scorpio. So it's more kind of saying your beliefs. So what are your beliefs revolving around love? What are your beliefs revolving around children? What are your beliefs revolving around your creativity? There's something there that needs to be unlocked, and it can be that there's subconscious fears that need to be cleared so you can do those things. All right. So for Sag and Sag rising, this is a new moon in your 4th house. So it's wonderful if you are looking to move. Wonderful, because you can find like your dream place. It's wonderful if you want to buy a house. It's wonderful if you want to travel back and visit family. If you're considering moving back home or somewhere that you've moved before. If you're thinking about moving overseas or anything like that, because Neptune and Jupiter are involved, you could. Sag and Sag rising are really going to benefit from this the most. And it's interesting because if you're feeling a little landlocked right now and that you can't travel as much as you want, you may be expanding your home in some capacity. It tells me that over the next 6 months, your home's going to improve, or it's going to get bigger, or it's going to be like the house or the living situation of your dreams, or your emotional, waters are so much more calmer and clearer. You're going to want to feel like you're making your house like your temple. Let me know if you're a Sag rising, especially, let me know, because I've seen this for Sagittarius. A lot of you guys are going to be like, I want to get a place with a pool, or I want a hot tub, or I want a big bathtub, or I need something that's going to allow me to soak, or something that's going to allow me to meditate. I want a meditation room. I want to put a fountain in. It's all like Pisces energy, so it's water. Or it can just be about you really being in your feelings, and you're really emotional because you're reflecting on the past and what the past used to be, and you're healing and letting the past go. So if it's, you know, family squabbles you've been experiencing, those can actually kind of iron out over the next couple of months, and you can actually find that you can have more peace with your family. Enjoy visiting them. You might be visiting them around waters. You might go to beaches, lakes, things like that. And being that this is your chart ruler, this is probably going to be the best damn moon all year for you, Sag. Okay, seriously. So some of these things may not have happened for you yet, but you really want to sit and you want to meditate and reflect on the home that you're creating. Being that Jupiter's involved, the home isn't necessarily a place, it's within you. So it has to do with where you are. So it's not defined by a home or a city or a location. The card that I got for you is the Four of Cups. So it makes me feel like you are hanging out a little bit, holding on to the past of what used to happen, where you used to live, who you used to live with, what didn't work, contemplation, reevaluation, feeling unfulfilled, missed opportunities, indifferent, discontent, melancholy. That can happen with the fourth house because it's a reminiscing energy. So I would say don't focus more on where you've been, focus more on where you're going. If you're not happy or totally thrilled with you know, where you've been living or some kind of state of your domestic zone, you have the ability to create change. You don't want to get caught up in this because Jupiter Neptune can have you like crying your eyes out, reflecting on the past, not being able to move forward. It's not somewhere you want to hang. Eventually, you're going to break out of this energy closer to about the spring of this year, May, June. But by then, there's going to be a lot of energies in your 7th house. And to be honest with you, everything for Sag and Sag rising this next year is about letting the past go so you can start new timelines when it comes to not just where you're living, but who you're creating a home with, or perhaps who you're in a relationship with, okay? Let the past go, Sag, because there are better things on the horizon. Make your house your temple. Capricorn and Cap rising. This is a new moon in your 3rd house, which deals with communication, short distance travel, anything relating to writing, talking to your siblings, your neighbors. Jupiter Neptune being there is interesting because Jupiter rules your natal 12th house. So it tells me that you might be reading or listening to a lot of self-help books or books that relate to psychology, therapy, past life stuff. Maybe you're wanting to learn tarot. Maybe you're pulling tarot cards more regularly for inspiration or guidance. Perhaps maybe you're looking at getting a new vehicle. Jupiter Neptune in the 3rd is like your dream car, or a dream workshop that you're joining, or maybe a dream vacation, a weekend away by the beach somehow. So it's setting intentions for that and feeling like you have more peace of mind. Capricorns, you would really benefit to learn meditation, like really, especially when I look at the combination between the 12th and the 3rd. This is a wonderful time for you to commit to doing something like that. Journaling and writing can be also really positive for you, so you may start something in that capacity right around this time. Dream interpretation as well. That's something else that's going to be very helpful for you. So if you're looking to set goals revolving around just making more of these trips happen, learning more, maybe it's going to the bookshop and picking up a new book that's connected to self-help or healing. It can be exceptionally positive for you. It can also be good for you to just get out and about and go walking and being in nature. That can really kind of help open things up for you as well and better communicate. The card that I get is the Three of Swords. Wah, wah. You know, when I think of Pisces energy, it's like when words aren't enough, right? When we don't know how to communicate. The 3rd house especially. The Three of Swords deals with heartache, grief, pain, loss, sorrow, trauma, you know, depression. And I'm seeing the sextiles happening from all the planets in your 1st house to the 3rd. And maybe you're fighting and you're really holding on, and you're holding on to your ego, or you're holding on to that and you're like, no, I'm going to push through it. Sometimes it's not about working through the pain. Sometimes it's just about being present and acknowledging it and asking it what it wants, right? Like really like going, okay, grief, depression, sadness. What's your purpose? Why are you here? What do you want? And when you deal with it and you handle it that way, you can actually heal, right? So when this card comes up, you're focusing on that, but you might be super focused on where you've been hurt or where you feel like you've lost something or you lost yourself. The good news is that you can pull the swords out of the heart. So the whole point of that, I think, is just awareness and acknowledging that it's there so you can actually move through it. So there can be some difficult conversations, communications, or finally kind of owning up to and acknowledging that you're in pain, all right? Sending you lots of healing. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is a new moon that's happening in your second house. So it's a wonderful time to manifest abundance, okay? And I mean, your wildest manifestational goals, I don't care what it is, just word to the wise, it might be a good idea for Aquarians to sit down and write out what we would call like an abundance check, like a manifestation abundance check. That's something that I learned when you have a new moon in your second house. Go, if you have a checkbook, I don't know if you do, not many people do these days, go get a checkbook, write the check out to yourself, and it's signed from the universe. So the universe is signing this check over to you. Put whatever you want in the amount, put whatever you want in the memo, okay? But it's from the universe. So if you're manifesting $1,000 so you can go to Cancun, whatever, there you go. It's $1,000 to go to Cancun. If you're manifesting enough money or a scholarship to a program, put that on the check. Whatever it is that you want. Obviously, realize this. The rule of thumb is that the threefold law, in my opinion, is real. I've seen people who do stuff like this where they manifest $1,000 and then somebody, hits their back bumper and they get $1,000 check from the universe. Don't be greedy. But realize that it's not necessarily just so much about money, but it's about making your dreams come true when it comes to security and abundance. So it's not always just physical dollar signs and amounts, okay? But that might be smart to do, especially like around the 5th or the 6th when the moon goes into Taurus. And I would say sit with it, focus on that. You can use like stones or crystals or herbs that relate to abundance. So I think like cedar or cinnamon, 5-finger grass. You can work with crystals like citrine or pyrite or garnet, whatever you like. Everybody to each their own. But maybe put it somewhere so it can kind of sit and manifest. Put a magnet by it, maybe a little bit of cash, some coins. Because what you're setting up is like literally money magic. Anything revolving around abundance and bringing more abundance in. And what's interesting about this is that Jupiter does not just rule your second house, it rules your 11th house, which is your goals, your friends, your association. So you might be wealthy with friends, wealthy with wealthy friends who invite you to go and do things, give you opportunities, they want to collaborate with you, right? Something about this seems really important though, about making all of your dreams when it comes to resources come true. So let's see how it's going to manifest for you. Holy cow, 10 of Pentacles. I thought already, like I was like, man, Aquarius is going to be the one that's going to make out like a bandit. 10 of Pentacles is a lot, right? It's dynasty, leaving a legacy, inheritance, wealth, financial security, long-term success, roots, family, privilege, right? It's very regal. But the 10 of Coins is like rich with family, rich with land, rich with some kind of abundance that comes from family or leaving a legacy behind, focusing on what you're leaving behind so you're building generational wealth. Right? I learned that recently, that anybody who's got a lot of planets in the second house, you came in to build that wealth for future generations. If you got a lot of planets in your 8th, you're receiving it. So shout out to those second house stelliums for working hard. Oh, you could have imagined my face when I saw that, when I had 4 planets there. I was like, I got gypped. Just kidding. All right, so last but not least is Pisces, and you're not least because this is your show, Pisces. This is a very big moon for you. A new moon in your sign is a new moon, new you. It's a clean slate, right? You're getting ready for this clean slate. You're focusing all of your attention and your energy on you, what you want, what you need, your visions for the future. Now, Jupiter and Neptune, they rule your chart, but Jupiter rules your 10th house. So go big or go home. What do you want? Jupiter ruling your 10th house in Sagittarius, how do you want to be seen? What do you believe in? Where are you going to travel? What are you going to teach? What are you learning, right? Who's seeing you? You have a spotlight on you doubly right now. Doubly. It's going to blow your mind, the amount of exposure you're going to have, where you're going to go, what you can be starting, the success you can get within yourself, the relationship with your body, but also your career goals in general, okay? A lot of energy is going to be on you. You're going to feel very intuitive, very psychic. You're absorbing everything. And no matter what's going on in the real world, I'm going to give you like the okay for the next month to be super Pisces and go, I'm not seeing it yet, but I know these things are going to happen. Focus really on vibration and anything that's going to help like relax your body. Be mindful that you're going to be more sensitive than usual. You may find yourself feeling a little bit more alone than usual. Okay, Jupiter, Neptune on your ascendant. You need to be alone so you can focus on your goals, so you can bring all of these to fruition. So if your goal is to change something about your body, change something about your appearance, get more recognition, travel more, have a lot of success in your career, this is the time to do it. Work with water and flowers and maybe a little bit of salt, do a bath, something like that. Pamper yourself, go to the spa, anything and everything you can to kind of clear all those channels, because this is the one time a year that you get a fresh start, because everything's going to be kind of really coming to fruition in about 6 months' time. And happy birthday, by the way. You get the Empress. Oh my God, please don't get pregnant. Just kidding. You could though, with Jupiter on your ascendant. Pregnant with ideas, right? But Jupiter on the ascendant is a pregnancy transit, especially if it is your chart ruler and it's conjunct Neptune. Some of you guys might just feel like you're pregnant with ideas. There's new concepts, new things that you're working on. But the Empress is about pampering yourself. It can be about motherhood, creation of life, abundance, maternal, fertility, divine feminine energy, pregnancy, beauty, sensuality, care, nurturing, and Mother Earth. Beautiful card. She's pregnant. She's got a little bird on her. She's got like all these like rays and like a crown on her. She looks awesome. So it can also just be about a relationship with a mother figure, you nurturing yourself, you loving yourself, you treating yourself like a goddess. Like, go ham. Like, definitely between now and May, focus on treating yourself the way that you want to be treated. That's the one thing that I would say to you. There's a huge emphasis on just really, filling your own cup and focusing on that. Can some of you guys get pregnant if you have Jupiter on your ascendant? Yes. Can you get pregnant with Jupiter on your moon? Yes. Okay. Look at what just happened with Rihanna. Rihanna's pregnant because of the Jupiter transits. I was looking at her chart between her moon and also her sun. That's why she's pregnant. Hopefully that was helpful. I know that was a long one. Thank you guys for listening, liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you have not already, please smash the bell button below so you get alerts as to when I'm putting out videos, and subscribe to my channel, because the more that you do, the more my content can get out there for other people, the more positive astro stuff I can spread and help others. And yeah, I look forward to being back. We're gonna have some new content on the channel this week. Very excited for that, so stay tuned and let me know, what are you anticipating with this new moon? What are you doing magically for this new moon? Also, that's something else that I'd be interested in hearing about, and how it ends up turning out for you. So hopefully it's as magical as it looks. Otherwise, I will see all of you guys very soon, and I'm wishing you a very happy week ahead. Take care.